What if I told you that the most important, most brutal battle you will ever fight is not out there in the world against some external enemy, but right here, on the silent, often chaotic, battlefield of your own mind? Now, imagine for a moment you are a great and noble warrior, completely frozen by doubt and fear right before your greatest challenge. What if a divine, all-knowing guide suddenly appeared at your side, not to fight the battle for you, but to hand you the secret, timeless wisdom to win it entirely by yourself? This isn't just an ancient myth, it is a 700-verse blueprint for achieving profound emotional invincibility. Today, we are unlocking the life-altering wisdom of Lord Krishna from the sacred Bhagavad Gita to help you forge unshakable emotional strength in your own modern life. This may be the guide you've been searching for. Krishna is one of the most important and beloved figures in Hindu philosophy. He is not only seen as a divine being, an incarnation of God, but also as a wise and compassionate teacher and guide. In the epic, timeless story of the Mahabharata, he serves as the humble charioteer for Arjuna, a brave and noble warrior. On the great battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna faces a profound existential crisis. He finds himself struggling with crippling doubts and the deep confusion about his duty as a warrior. As he prepares to lead his army into a monumental battle, a heavy burden of sorrow and compassion overwhelms him. He feels utterly torn because he has to battle against his own family, his beloved teachers, and his cherished friends. This unbearable weight makes him question if the war is truly right, and whether he should even fight at all. During this incredibly difficult and poignant moment of internal conflict, Krishna steps in to help his friend Arjuna. He is not just a distant, divine figure, he is a caring, insightful mentor who deeply understands Arjuna's internal struggle. Krishna realizes that Arjuna's battle is not unique. It powerfully reflects the very same kinds of challenges that we all experience in our own lives. And so, through the sacred teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, he offers Arjuna advice that goes far beyond the immediate battle, touching on the most profound concepts of human existence, our sacred duty, the art of action without attachment, and the immense importance of devotion to a higher purpose. The Bhagavad Gita is a 700-verse Hindu scripture that is a part of the great Indian epic, the Mahabharata. It masterfully tells the story of a deep, life-altering conversation between the warrior Prince Arjuna and his guide, Krishna, taking place in a chariot, right between two massive armies, just moments before the great war is about to begin. In this sacred conversation, Krishna shares essential spiritual wisdom and practical guidance to help Arjuna deal with his intense inner struggles and his profound confusion about fighting in the war. Now, it is incredibly important to note that the Bhagavad Gita isn't promoting actual physical warfare or violent conflict. Instead, it brilliantly uses the battlefield as a powerful, timeless metaphor for the inner struggles we all face. The battle against our own ignorance, our greed, our fear, and the moral dilemmas we experience in our daily lives. And just like the great warrior Arjuna, we all must deal with our own internal conflicts and make our own tough decisions. Krishna's wisdom for Arjuna, therefore, is truly wisdom for all of us. And in this video, we will discuss how we can use Lord Krishna's timeless wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita to become profoundly, unshakably emotionally strong. Lesson number 1, embrace your dharma, your sacred duty. Krishna says, perform your obligatory duty, because action is indeed better than inaction. In Krishna's philosophy, dharma is the profound idea of one's sacred duty, of living in the right way, in harmonious alignment with the laws of the universe. It's about consciously choosing to do what is morally correct and necessary for the greater good, especially when it's emotionally difficult. There, on the brink of battle, stands Arjuna, one of the greatest warriors of his time, completely overwhelmed with grief and doubt. He's not just fighting any random enemy, he's facing his own beloved family, his friends, the very people he loves. As he looks out across the battlefield, his heart feels utterly broken. He is unwilling to fight, unwilling to harm those closest to him. But then, Krishna steps in, offering a powerful, life-changing perspective. He gently reminds Arjuna that his dharma as a warrior in this moment is not about his own personal feelings, his attachments, or his fears. It's about his sacred duty to fight for justice, to uphold righteousness, even in the face of what feels like unbearable emotional pain. Arjuna's mind is clouded by his powerful emotions, but Krishna urges him to rise above those feelings, dragged not from a place of fear or attachment, but from a deeper, more profound sense of purpose. And in this, we find our first great lesson. Emotional strength is not about ignoring or suppressing our feelings, but about not letting them completely control our actions. It's about having the courage to do what's right, especially when it's hard. Dharma, as Krishna explains, is different for each of us. It's intrinsically tied to our unique roles and responsibilities in life. For a parent, their dharma is to nurture their children, to teach them good values, and to create a loving, stable home. And this is certainly not an easy task. It requires immense patience, profound selflessness, and a clear vision for the future. But in doing so, they're not just shaping the lives of their own children, they're powerfully contributing to the future of all of society. For a teacher, their dharma is to educate and to inspire the next generation. They ignite curiosity, they foster critical thinking, and they help to build responsible, thoughtful individuals who will one day carry the world forward. Their work is absolutely foundational to the betterment of our world. And as for a soldier, their dharma is perhaps one of the most intense. It involves protecting their nation, standing on the front lines, and often risking their own lives to safeguard others. Bravery, loyalty, discipline, these are the very pillars of their duty. They learn to put aside their personal fears and desires for the safety and freedom of others. But whether you're a parent, a teacher, a soldier, or even a farmer, a doctor, a leader, or an artist, dharma is ultimately about one thing: consciously choosing to act in ways that uphold truth, justice, and harmony in the world. It's a personal, internal compass that guides us not just to act in our own selfish interests, but in the interests of the greater good, thereby creating a sense of balance in the world around us. But here's the thing: following your dharma isn't always easy. Life inevitably throws us curveballs, doubt, emotional struggles, incredibly difficult decisions. It's in these very moments of trial and tribulation that our true commitment to our dharma is genuinely tested. Krishna teaches us that profound emotional strength is absolutely critical in staying on this righteous path. Life is full of loss, of challenges, of tough choices. These situations can stir up powerful emotions within us: grief, anger, fear, and confusion. And these emotions can easily cloud our judgment, paralyzing us and stopping us from doing what we know is right. But Krishna's message is crystal clear. Even in the very midst of our own emotional turmoil,
we must strive to focus on our duty, on what is right. While our emotions are a natural part of our human experience, they are often temporary, like passing clouds. We must learn to rise above them and stay firmly committed to our sacred duty. Our Dharma. Lesson number 2. Practice Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. According to Krishna, you have the right to your actions, but never to its fruits. Once you have identified your responsibilities, your Dharma, it is incredibly important to learn not to be anxiously attached to the outcome of your actions. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches Arjuna about Karma Yoga, which is the yoga of selfless, dedicated action. Krishna teaches us that while it's essential to fulfill your responsibilities with all your heart and skill, you shouldn't get caught up in worrying about what you'll personally gain from it. You must not let the potential outcome control your actions in the present moment. Instead, you must learn to focus entirely on the quality and integrity of the work itself. When we can learn to work with this kind of selfless mindset, we can remain calm, steady, and largely unaffected by the inevitable ups and downs of success and failure. In Hindu philosophy, karma is the universal law that every action, thought, and intention sends out a corresponding energy that eventually returns to us. It's the very force that can keep us caught in the cycle of samsara, the seemingly endless loop of birth, death, and rebirth, each and every time we act with selfish motives, for fame, for wealth, for personal gain. We generate more karma, binding us more tightly to this cycle. The more we desire, the more we act to satisfy those desires. And this can keep us trapped in the same repeating patterns, over and over again. Imagine this modern scenario. You're working incredibly hard, relentlessly striving for promotions and raises. At first, it might seem like a laudable goal, but when it becomes an obsession, when your happiness becomes entirely dependent on that next achievement, stress inevitably builds, and you find you are never, ever truly satisfied. You always want more and more, and with each new achievement, a new, even greater desire quickly takes its place. This is how karma can work in our daily lives. It can keep us entangled in an endless chase, always striving, but never truly, deeply at peace. But here's the beautiful, liberating part of karma yoga. When you learn to perform your actions selflessly, without being anxiously attached to the outcome, you can begin to break free from this exhausting cycle. If your actions aren't primarily driven by the hunger for personal gain, they don't generate the kind of karma that binds you. Think about that for a second. When you can let go of your ego's constant demands, when you're not working just to satisfy your own desires, your actions become lighter, more meaningful, and most importantly, free from that heavy weight of anxious attachment. Now let's examine the opposing example. The person who works with incredible integrity and unwavering dedication, but doesn't obsess over the promotions or the external rewards. They find their deep satisfaction in the quality and the purpose of the work itself. That is the very essence of karma yoga, acting in perfect alignment with your dharma, dedicating the results of your work to a higher purpose, and in doing so, purifying your own mind and heart. This process of purification gradually reduces the accumulation of new karma, and ultimately, helps us to dissolve our past karmic debts. And where does this path eventually lead? It can lead to moksha, total liberation, freedom from the cycle of birth and rebirth, a state where the soul is no longer bound by worldly karma and can finally unite with the divine. But let's bring this profound concept back down to a very practical, everyday level. How can we apply karma yoga in our own lives? Starting today, it begins with adopting a more selfless, service-oriented attitude in whatever we do. Whether you're a student, a professional, a parent, or a chef, give your duties your full dedication, your complete integrity, and a genuine sense of service to others. The absolute key here is detachment from the outcome. Let's say you're a student. You study hard for an important exam, but you don't let your anxiety about the final grade completely dominate your thoughts. Instead, you choose to focus on the process of learning itself, on the joy of acquiring new knowledge, and you learn to let go of your attachment to the final result. That is karma yoga in action. You can then remain calm and centered whether you ultimately succeed or fail, whether you receive praise or criticism. This practice keeps you grounded and helps you to avoid the emotional rollercoaster that so often comes with desperately chasing specific results. Another key aspect of karma yoga is being fully mindfully present in whatever task you're performing. When you give your full, undivided attention to the present moment, your actions become infinitely more meaningful and potent. For example, a chef who is carefully, lovingly preparing a meal, whether it's for a restaurant full of paying customers or just for their family at home, finds their deep joy in the very act of cooking itself. They aren't primarily focused on the praise they might receive later. They are immersed in the sacred art of the task at hand. That is the profound power of karma yoga in daily life. When we perform our duties selflessly, without anxious attachment to the fruits of our labor, we build incredible emotional resilience. We learn to stay steady through all of life's inevitable ups and downs. And we come to see our actions as meaningful contributions to something greater than ourselves, not just as a means to some personal gain. Remember, life's greatest and most lasting rewards often come not from what we achieve, but from how we approach each and every moment, with purpose, with presence, and with a spirit of selfless service. This brings us to the third lesson: practice vairagya, or detachment. Krishna once said to Arjuna, "O mighty armed son of Kunti, what you say is correct. The mind is indeed very difficult to restrain. But by practice and detachment, it can be controlled." Vairagya is the sacred art of learning how to release the tight, often suffocating, grip that worldly pleasures and material possessions can have on us. While karma yoga focuses on selfless action, vairagya emphasizes a profound emotional detachment from our material desires. Now, here's the important part. Vairagya doesn't mean you have to withdraw from the world, give up everything you love, or become a passionless ascetic. It's about learning how to engage fully and joyfully in life, while simultaneously staying emotionally balanced and centered within yourself. Krishna explains that while the mind can be incredibly restless and easily swayed by 1,000 different desires, we can absolutely train it through consistent, dedicated practice and the art of detachment. And the way we train our minds is through this consistent, dedicated practice and the profound art of detachment. Let's look at this through the lens of a powerful concept in Hindu philosophy called Maya, which refers to the grand, cosmic illusion that can often cloud our perception of reality. Think of Maya as a subtle, enchanting fog that makes us believe that temporary, external things like wealth, social status, or even specific relationships are the ultimate keys to our happiness. But these are all, by their very nature, temporary. For example, you might feel a surge of pride and joy from your brand new car. But over time, that car will inevitably age. It will get scratches, and it will eventually need to be replaced. If your core happiness is dependent on that car, you will inevitably feel a sense of disappointment and loss when it no longer serves you as it once did. This is Maya at work, subtly convincing us to attach our sense of worth and our deep-seated joy to things that simply do not and cannot last. Practicing vairagya, or detachment, helps us to gently,
yet powerfully, break free from this captivating illusion. It's about learning to let go of the immense emotional weight we so often attach to material things and fleeting experiences, and instead, choosing to connect to something far deeper and unchanging, internal spiritual reality. Hindu philosophy often explains this as a gradual journey of awakening. First, we start to simply realize the temporary nature of worldly things. We might begin to simplify our lives, to voluntarily give up unnecessary luxuries, or to focus more on finding a quiet peace within ourselves. Next, we begin to more clearly see what truly, deeply matters. At this stage, we can more easily distinguish between what is real and lasting, like our character and our inner peace, and what is fleeting and merely distracting, like praise or possessions. Then, our focus begins to sharpen. We might dedicate more time to practices like meditation, prayer, or self-study, staying committed to our spiritual goals despite the constant busyness of modern life. And finally, we can reach the highest form of detachment, a state of profound inner freedom where we have achieved a masterful control over our senses and our desires. At this stage, we are no longer helplessly swayed by external circumstances. Joy and sorrow, success and failure may pass through us like clouds in the sky, but our core being remains balanced, centered, and profoundly peaceful. Now, let's make this intensely practical. Vairagya isn't about giving up all your possessions and walking away from the world to live in a cave. It's about learning to live your life fully, without letting your fundamental happiness hinge on any specific external outcome. Of course, you can and should enjoy your work, your friendships, and your possessions, but you must also deeply understand that your core inner peace does not and must not depend on them, whether life seems to be going your way or not. You can learn to stay grounded. You can start by simply focusing on being fully present in the moment, on doing your absolute best in whatever task is right in front of you. Without worrying too much about where it will all eventually lead, you can reflect regularly through practices like meditation or journaling. This helps you to recognize when you're becoming too anxiously attached to something, so you can gently, compassionately realign with your true, inner self. In the end, Vairagya is about engaging with your life, with all its joys and sorrows, fully and completely, without stressing over the things you ultimately cannot control. And in this way, we can remain calm, we can remain strong, and we can remain happy, no matter what challenges life brings our way. This leads us to the fourth, and perhaps most profound, lesson: understand your true self, the Atman. In the words of Lord Krishna, the soul is neither born, nor does it die, it is eternal and beyond the physical body. In the Bhagavad Gita, the concept of the Atman is of profound significance in enhancing our emotional strength. The Atman refers to the true, unchanging self, the eternal soul, that exists deep within each and every individual. This idea is absolutely crucial to the teachings of Krishna, who guides Arjuna to this understanding, because recognizing our own true nature, our Atman, can lead us to ultimate spiritual freedom. One key aspect of the Atman is that it is eternal and unchanging. While our physical bodies and our fleeting emotions experience constant changes, growing, aging, and eventually passing away, the Atman, our true essence, remains constant and untouched, much like the clear, empty sky that remains the same even as the clouds of weather constantly shift and change before it. Another vital aspect of the Atman is its complete indestructibility. Krishna powerfully emphasizes that our soul cannot be destroyed. He asserts that weapons cannot cut it, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, and the wind cannot dry it. This powerful metaphor signifies that our true, innermost self is completely beyond any form of worldly harm. For instance, consider a balloon that floats gracefully in the sky. While that balloon, the outer form, may eventually burst, the air that was within it continues to exist, merging back into the vastness of the atmosphere. Realizing that our Atman, our soul, is similarly indestructible can foster a profound sense of inner security and significantly reduce our anxiety regarding the challenges, the losses, and the changes we inevitably face in life. The concept of the Atman helps us to rise above the pairs of opposites in life. The dualities, like pleasure and pain, success and failure, or joy and sorrow, these opposites are a natural, unavoidable part of our earthly experience. But when we begin to understand and connect with our Atman, we realize that our true self is not actually affected by these external ups and downs. This deep understanding helps us to stay calm and balanced, no matter what happens around us. Think of it like being a sturdy, ancient tree in a powerful storm. The wind may blow with ferocious intensity, and the rain may pour down in torrents, but the deep-rooted tree stands firm and doesn't get uprooted. Similarly, when we learn to identify with our Atman rather than our fleeting emotions or circumstances, we become emotionally strong and incredibly steady. This calm and balanced state is often called equanimity, and what that means is that we don't get overly excited and attached during the good times, nor do we get too upset and devastated during the bad times. We learn to maintain a steady mind and a peaceful heart. This doesn't mean we become unfeeling robots. It simply means we are no longer helplessly controlled by our emotions. We can enjoy happiness without desperately clinging to it, and we can face difficulties without being completely overwhelmed by them. When we connect with our Atman, we naturally become more self-aware and mindful. Self-awareness means knowing what we are thinking and feeling at any given moment. Mindfulness means paying close attention to that present moment without judgment. Combined, these practices help us to understand ourselves better and to make clear, thoughtful decisions, instead of just reacting to life on autopilot. To truly understand and realize the Atman, practicing Jnana Yoga, or the path of wisdom, is essential. According to Krishna, Jnana Yoga is the knowledge of understanding the crucial difference between the Atman, our eternal soul, our true self, and the temporary, ever-changing material world. This discernment helps us to see beyond the surface of things and to recognize the deeper truths of our existence. Jnana Yoga involves 3 key practices: Shravana, which means deep, attentive listening to spiritual teachings; Manana, which means profound reflection on their meanings; and Nididhyasana, which means deep, sustained meditation on these truths. Through this path of wisdom, we come to understand the true nature of our eternal self, and we learn to tell the difference between what is real and lasting, and what is merely temporary and illusory. Recognizing that our true self is eternal and unaffected by temporary changes makes us less attached to these fleeting experiences, which in turn reduces our anxiety and emotional distress, making us emotionally stronger and more resilient. This brings us to the 5th and final lesson for today: surrender to the divine, the path of devotion. In our final quote from Krishna for this video, he says, "Engage your mind always in thinking of me, offer obeisances and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me." Here, Krishna teaches Arjuna about Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, which is crucial for both spiritual growth and profound emotional strength. So, what is Bhakti Yoga? At its very core, it's about consciously, lovingly dedicating our thoughts, our actions, and our feelings to a higher power, be it God, the universe, or a personal deity we feel deeply connected to. For Arjuna, that higher power is Krishna himself. One of the most remarkable aspects of Bhakti Yoga is how it helps us to rise above our own limited, often troublesome, ego. The ego often makes us focus relentlessly on our own importance, our own problems, and our own desires, which frequently leads to stress, anxiety, and conflict. When we're fixated on our own problems, we can feel isolated, dissatisfied, and even more so when things don't go our way. However, consciously turning our attention towards the divine, towards something greater than ourselves, helps us to break free from these self-centered thoughts and to connect with a much greater, more peaceful reality. By focusing on the divine, we start to see ourselves as a small but integral part of a much bigger picture, realizing that our personal worries are just tiny parts of life's vast, intricate puzzle. Practices like prayer and meditation can help shift our focus from our own individual concerns to a higher, more universal purpose. This profound shift is like adjusting a camera lens from a narrow, stressful close-up to a clear, wide, and beautiful panoramic view of the world. As we adopt this broader perspective, we begin to understand that chasing material possessions, social status, or other fleeting pleasures only ever brings temporary happiness. Recognizing this truth encourages us to let go of that stressful need to control every single aspect of our lives. Surrendering that control means developing a deep trust in a greater plan. Even if that plan isn't immediately clear to us, this powerful act of surrender, which is called devotion, lightens our emotional burdens and dramatically eases our self-imposed pressure. This acceptance allows us to face life's inevitable challenges with far more grace and less resistance. It doesn't mean we stop trying to improve ourselves or our circumstances, but we acknowledge that challenges are a natural and even necessary part of our journey. Feeling connected to the divine is like having a wise, loving mentor constantly guiding us through life's ups and downs, reassuring us that we are never truly alone. By turning our focus toward this higher purpose, we can discover a deeper, more abiding joy that doesn't fade away with changing circumstances. This joy comes from feeling connected to something much bigger than our own small selves, our family, our community, the universe itself. It's like being a single, beautiful thread in a vast, magnificent tapestry where every single thread matters. This profound sense of connection gives our lives deep meaning and helps us to stay hopeful, even during the most difficult of times. Conclusion: the awakened warrior, the wisdom of Lord Krishna, as shared in the Bhagavad Gita, is a timeless and powerful guide to transforming ourselves from the inside out. It's a journey from the doubt and despair of Arjuna on the battlefield of life to the profound peace and strength of an awakened warrior. By embracing your dharma, you find your purpose. By practicing karma yoga, you find freedom in your actions. By cultivating vairagya, you detach from the trivial and find peace. By understanding your true self, the Atman, you discover your own eternal, unshakable nature. And by practicing bhakti yoga, you surrender your ego and connects to something far greater than yourself. These are not just ancient, abstract concepts. They are practical, powerful tools for building profound emotional strength and navigating the challenges of our modern world with grace, courage, and unwavering composure. The battlefield is still here, within each of us, but now you have the wisdom of Krishna as your guide. You have the tools to become emotionally strong, to rise above the chaos, and to live a life of profound purpose and deep, abiding peace. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the profound wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, and if you are ready to continue your journey towards greater success and happiness, then I want to give you a very strong call to action. First, hit that like button. It's a simple click that tells YouTube this content is valuable and helps our channel grow. Second, share this video with someone who you know is facing their own inner battle and needs to hear this message. And most importantly, if you haven't already, subscribe to Philosophies for Life for more videos designed to help you find success and happiness using beautiful, timeless philosophical wisdom. Thank you so much for watching.